All right, good evening, good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to tonight's online town hall. I want to thank our students, parents, alumni, and members of the community for joining us. I'm your Director of Customer Service, Angel Pointer. Your presence this evening shows your care, your concern, and your commitment to South Carolina State University. This town hall will be structured to provide important updates from university leadership, followed by an opportunity to hear your questions. Please note that all questions must be submitted in the Q&A section found at the top of your browser so that we can address them in an orderly manner. Clear up front at this time, we are not at liberty to address any questions directly related to the ongoing investigation. Our focus this evening is to share verified information, outline available resources, and respond to community concerns within those limits. Present with us this evening is President Alexander Conyers, Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Tamara Jeffries, Director of Counseling and Self-Development, Mrs. Christian Jackson, Vice President of Enrollment Management, Dr. Finch, and Vice President of Finances and Administration, CFO, Dr. Joe Smalls. We thank them for their time, leadership, and continued support of our students and campus community. At this time, I will turn it over to President Alexander Conyers.
Thank you, Ms. Pointer, and good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Alex Conyers, President here at South Carolina State. As you all very well know, less than 24 hours ago, we had two tragic shootings here on our campus, where either you are a student here at South Carolina State or the parent or loved one of a current student. I'm so sorry that our students, your students, had to endure such senseless violence, and I'm praying for each of them and for the victims from last night. Tonight, I will speak to you about the facts as we know them and dispel any rumors that may still exist. As a reminder, we simply cannot speak on any details about the active investigations. Although there are many rumors, the facts as we know them now are no South Carolina State University student was killed nor shot. Unfortunately, yes, there was a death of a young lady. However, she was not a student. Still tragic, still very, very traumatizing for our students. However, I know that there have been rumors that the student killed was an SC State student. The second victim that was shot, a male, was also not a South Carolina State University student. The one person that's been arrested so far is also not a South Carolina State University student. Again, I recognize that even though these aren't SC State students, I fully recognize as a parent of college-age students, I recognize the trauma and shock that it still caused our students. I spent the night in Huguenin Suites myself last night with my wife and 22-year-old daughter. I've not left the campus since. I've been on campus all day engaging with our students, talking to them, seeing how they're doing. And I'm super impressed with their resiliency and what they're concerned about faculty and staff. Although I know many of them are still holding things in, and to that end, we have canceled classes for tomorrow. We will provide counseling for those who need to, who would like to see a counselor. We will do that. But again, I had an opportunity today to walk around campus, drive around campus on a golf cart, to speak with and engage with students about last night's incidents. So again, very, very impressed with our students. And I'm very proud of them. This past week, leading up to homecoming, we sent several safety reminders out to our students. You may have seen some of them. One directly from me, emailed to every student, reminding them of their responsibility, reminding them that if they see something, to say something, reminding them to be careful of the visitors they invite to our campus during this homecoming. And I believe they adhered to those messages. I believe that is why you did not see our students involved in any way with any of these situations. So again, we continued throughout this week leading up to homecoming to tell them which resources were available for this week. We gave them additional information about our law enforcement presence, which Dr. Smalls, who oversees campus police, will provide more details. But again, super proud of our students. But again, I speak as a parent. I know that you're super concerned. I'm just as concerned as you are. And my number one priority is always the safety of our students, because we know that if students don't feel safe, then we've got bigger issues. So again, I just wanted to provide those updates to you as the rumors that's been afloat of the victims of these tragic shootings last night. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Smalls for comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The possibility of the tragic event, such as the one that occurred last night, which has haunted many of our sister institutions, has always been our greatest fear. In recognition of this, over the past 2 months, we have taken significant steps to strengthen the campus security and emergency response. We established an enhanced security team of more than 200 security and police officers dedicated to supporting special events. This team includes key partners from South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, Highway Patrol, County Sheriff's Office, City Police Department, and several federal agencies. To further improve coordination, we created a new police command center in Nix Hall, strategically located in the heart of the athletic zone and adjacent to our largest student residence. The placement of this command center allowed tactical teams to respond within minutes of last night's tragic event. Our security operation were also augmented with drones and helicopter surveillance, more than 300 monitored cameras, and a fully trained canine team. This heartbreaking incident has only strengthened our resolve and resilience. We remain steadfast in our commitment to ensuring that the safety and security of every student, faculty member, staff member, and guests. We are determined to make this university a place where all members of our community can live, learn, and thrive in safety. Again, thank you. Thank you.
President Conyers, you're on mute.
Dr. Jeffries, if you can, would you please tell us what services are available, and then Ms. Jackson can further provide details, our Director of Counseling.
Thank you, President Conyers. Currently, we've received an outpouring of support from several faith-based organizations, as well as local organizations and some private organizations or individuals with private practices. So we've tried to encourage our students to take advantage of these resources. We've shared this information with them. We've shared the hours that therapists are available, as well as some of our counselors and friends from various churches. So Ms. Jackson will provide everyone with additional details. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries. I'm Christian Jackson, Director of Counseling and Self-Development here at South Carolina State University. And we have been implementing our current crisis protocol for mental health support for our students. That does involve community partnerships here around Orangeburg. Thank you to some licensed professional alumni who've actually reached out to offer support. We are going to be having a rotation of different crisis support groups that we will be doing every 90 minutes with my staff. We've already had a few students come in today, and we'll be documenting those interactions. we're going to be doing that through the next 2 days at the very least to make sure we've cleared our schedules from our regularly scheduled program to make sure that we're all hands on deck for that. So this would include psychoeducation materials, things that would help them learn to self-soothe, reminding them of the coping skills they learn in session with us and throughout our various programs over the years. So our students are engaged on the Instagram app. So I answer those questions sometimes and provide quick updates through that. And we will also be relying on peers who would like to help as well. So we have a well-rounded plan that we're implementing for crisis response, and that does include on-campus partnerships with campus police, different faculty and staff in terms of referral. So they help us kind of see who needs to come to counseling so that we can have all of our eyes everywhere and make sure that everyone is safe.
Thank you, Ms. Jack. Go ahead, Dr. Jeffries.
I would also share that we also have a mobile app that provides services to our students that go beyond the normal work hours of 8:30 to 5 or to 6, since our counseling staff are here and remaining on campus. So students have been reminded to use those services as well if necessary. So we've tried to really wrap our arms around the student body and let them know that we're here for them 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries. Dr. Finch, I know because of your interaction with many of these students and parents, I know many of the calls and emails and text messages that have come in came into you first before reaching me or anyone else. I would just like for you to just add, some of the concerns that you've heard from parents that we haven't addressed yet, or just confirm what we've just spoken about.
Thank you, President Conyers. So on this call, and the students and parents that are on this call, just understand that this leadership team is very strong. Our interaction with students are very strong, and our commitment to not just their safety, but their educational endeavors is very, very strong with this entire leadership team. I still stand behind everything you've heard from our recruiters, our leadership team in enrollment management, and this leadership team across the country, that we are very vigilant in everything that we do, including the safety of our students and the educational endeavors of our students. This calls, I've received hundreds and hundreds of calls and texts and email, because every student and every parent receives my number or my email address. But understand, every call and every text message has been answered and will continue to be answered for the next 4 years as long as we're in this driving seat, and we will be. Understand the nucleus of this team. President Conyers, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Smalls, and our entire cabinet is very focused and student-centered. That has not changed and will not change. Unfortunately, incidents happen. Are we happy about it? Absolutely no. But this makes us even stronger and even more vigilant to provide more and more resources to make sure that we're covering all of our bases. So as we come to your cities, and I've received calls from media outlets, from parents, from superintendents and counselors, we still stand behind our core mission, and that's to ensure the safety of our students and that they are very well educated and extremely prepared. Thank you, President Conyers.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Again, we will schedule a town hall tomorrow with students so that students can come into our auditorium and address any concerns that they may have. I advise you, if you don't hear an answer tonight that you were looking for, to share that question with your student. They will have an opportunity to speak with us live on stage tomorrow. The same leadership team here will be there, along with some additional personnel, our provost. So we will have additional personnel at the live panel tomorrow, town hall, for our students. Again, so sorry that this has happened. We will continue to be resolute in our commitment to the safety of your students. I will leave no stone unturned as far as this investigation goes, that we will fully cooperate with SLED. And from my position to SLED and all of those who are in the decision-making processes for justice, is that South Carolina State will speak loud with one voice, that we expect the maximum punishment for anyone that comes onto this campus with the intent to harm one of our students. Make no mistake about that. We will be loud, we will be vocal when it comes to those issues, when we have an opportunity to address those in the decision-making processes. We've gotten calls from national politicians who represent South Carolina in Washington, D.C., on the Senate side, as well as the congressional side, offering their support. We've gotten calls from state and local elected officials as well. But I know none of this means as much to you as knowing that your son and daughter are safe. None of this means as much to you as knowing that your son or daughter is comfortable. And we want to ensure that they remain comfortable. We want to ensure that they remain here on our campus and complete what they started here. And I'm fully committed to that. And you will have my promise. You will see me in action, not just words, starting from last night throughout today and throughout the rest of the time that your student is here on our campus. Ms. Pointer, have you began to receive any questions in the chat yet?
Yes, sir. In the QA section, we have quite a few questions.
Okay.
Before we move into the questions, I would like to share the information if parents and students would like to download the RAVE app. The website is in the chat, and a student will need to register. Student, faculty, or staff will need to register with their scsu.edu email address, and you may add up to 3 additional mobile numbers to receive alerts via text. All right. First question here is, will there be a vigil for the young lady?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can now.
We will certainly work with her parents, although she was not a student. I do understand that she had many friends at this campus, so we will work with her parents and gain their desires. Dr. Smalls and Chief Johnson spoke with the parents last night at the hospital. So certainly if the parents do not object to us having a vigil for this student, for those friends who are here enrolled at South Carolina State, we are certainly open to that.
Thank you. How are meals being handled?
Meals are still being served. If you have a student here on campus today, I saw many of them today at the cafeteria, many of them off campus. I didn't realize that we had Uber Eats so readily available here in Orangeburg, but many of the students are ordering food, but the cafeteria was open all day today for all 3 meals. So meals are still being served, and I engaged with many of them today at the cafeteria.
Will there now be more enforcement of the policies and procedures around weapons and drug use on campus? Random dorm checks for non-students in student housing?
Yes, we will continue to do that, and we will beef that up. Certainly we do have where our housing teams do conduct health and wellness checks. And if they find something suspicious, then they call law enforcement. And law enforcement by law cannot conduct health and wellness checks. However, our residence life counselors can, and they do randomly scheduled checks. And when they find things that they suspect to be illegal, they do call in law enforcement for further investigation. But certainly we will continue to do that. And yes, we will even beef that up even more.
What changes, if any, as much as you can speak to, are being made to protect the students and the campus at large going forward?
One of the changes, again, I think Dr. Small spoke of the number of assets we had on campus. But one of the changes is we recognize that Hugueny Suites is one of our larger areas, is we will place a police substation or a campus safety office in Hugueny Suites area, in the very same vicinity where most of the students walk and congregate. We will be placing a police substation as an outreach of our main campus police department within Hugany Suites. And we will start that process within the next week.
How is this going to be handled going forward during future homecomings?
During future homecomings, we will assess that. You know, again, at this point, we're trying to get a handle on what happened last night. We will certainly sit down with all of our law enforcement partners, all of the university key players, and figure out what we can do to better provide security for our faculty, staff, students, and visitors on this campus. So again, we're not at that point yet, but there will be a full analysis and assessment as to what needs to happen in the future.
Why did parents have to hear about the shooting on the news rather than from the university?
Well, social media is so fast. I mean, we got this out to students as quickly as we could. So parents who are on the Rave app got it the same time as students. So as we provided the lockdown immediately, law enforcement responded immediately. In fact, law enforcement was in the very vicinity. But again, so if you're a parent and if you're not on our Rave app, we encourage you to have your son or daughter add you to the app. That way you will get the information in real time just as your student gets that information. So again, I apologize if a parent does not have that app. But again, as we work against social media and instant posting, it's very, very difficult to control that. But it's my intent, I would like for every parent to register for our Rave app so that they can get timely notification as well.
We'll have to make sure all the students are registered so we can get them to add their parents. So prior to this incident, my husband and I were allowed on campus to visit our son without security checking our cars or identifying us as people entering the campus. Why doesn't security check cars or identify people entering the campus?
We are a public institution. We do allow during certain times of the hour, later at night, there are more stringent rules, just like any other public university. However, as we get threat notifications, we do increase the amount of checks and the random checks that we do. So again, we are an open campus, a public university, but again, we do not during the day check every vehicle. Certainly if the threat assessment shows that, we will. So again, those are some of the things that we will relook to see if that's needed, to see if we need to increase resources to do such action. So again, that's one of those areas that we will relook.
Dr. Smalls?
If I can add to what the President just said, a full assessment of all of those protocols is being done right now.
Thank you.
I think it also, President Conyers, needs to be added that some of the gates lock at 6 o'clock. Some of the entry points are locked at 6 o'clock.
Yes. So at night we have just one gate open. All the other vehicular gates are locked. And then after a certain hour, those security guards are checking for either student IDs or decals, university decals for access to the university. And if they don't have those, then our law enforcement personnel at the gates instruct those visitors to call their student that they're visiting for access to the campus. But again, at this time, just like no other public university in South Carolina, there's not a 100% check for entry into the campus during the major points of the day.
Can you speak to or provide specific data relative to the outcomes of the current safety measures Dr. Smalls outlined?
What's that question again, Ms. Pointer?
Can you speak to or provide specific data relative to the outcomes of the current safety measures Dr. Smalls outlined?
I may be able to address that, Mr. President. Last year, there was not one significant incident. So we felt as though those measures were in place. They were operating sufficiently until the tragic event last night. Is that a data point that you were referring to, ma'am?
They can comment back and we'll check back.
Okay.
Is there active duty training and current protocol for campus staff and students?
Can I answer that, Dr. Yes.
Yes, I can answer that.
Yes.
For the actual police officers, they go through the academy. They are police officers, so they go through all of the necessary training. Last year, we started what we call the officer or a live fire type scenario training for all faculty and staff. We're going to repeat that throughout the year. That was very significant when we started that, and the attendance was very good. But we're going to increase that. We're going to roll that over to students too, moving forward.
So, President Conyers and Angel, there is also a report that comes out, and Dr. Jeffries may want to speak on. It's called the Clery Report. It cites every incident on every college campus in America. So that may be what they're asking about. It's called the Clery Report. Thank you.
Yes.
I think, Dr. Finch, I think it may be very similar. What's beginning to happen at colleges across the country, and this is very new, and I'm seeking more information on it. Just as we remember our students, our children in grade school, learning how to drop and roll doing fire drills. Many schools are beginning to implement training for college students, hide, run, fight. You know, asking if there happens to be a situation, you hide first. If not, you run. And if not, your last thing is to fight. So again, this is new information coming out to college campuses that we will certainly explore and determine whether we should implement such training for our students.
And I'd like to also add that we have made similar training available to our student body. However, when you look at the numbers, we don't have many students to register and participate. So we need to look at some creative ways to try and get our students to register for this training that I think is very critical to their safety and security.
Dr. Jackson, we'll discuss later. I don't want to get on in here, but I think I will try to make this mandatory for student leaders to serve in leadership positions. And then that way, you know, hopefully them being there will encourage their friends to come. We know we won't get 100%, but we need a sizable percentage of our students trained, and we will do that.
Right. What role may alumni play in offering additional supportive programs or assistance?
At this point, we really need alums to really help us control the narratives and the facts. In fact, many of the rumors that were out there that I saw were from alums. So again, at this point, we will do a complete assessment, and then we will then be able to determine just where alums can help us in these situations.
Has the university considered putting a curfew in place for next year?
Again, we will do an assessment. I study and I look at similar situations from across the country. Last year, unfortunately, there were situations. This year at some of the colleges across the country, everything had to be shut down on campuses at 5 p.m. So the game was at 1, the game was over probably by 4. By 5 o'clock, everybody had to be off campus. Another university restricted all driving onto campus. All of their patrons had to park perhaps at a local fairground, some very large venue, and then they were put on buses and transported to the campus. Those are just some of the things that university did this year that we're studying, that we're assessing to figure out what's feasible and best for South Carolina State University.
All right, there may be additional guests staying in dorm rooms. Are there check-ins by the RAs to assure that no outside person should be staying on campus overnight or for a period of time to prevent this?
There are, and I'll speak to that, in our traditional halls, and those are the freshman halls. So there are check-in procedures in place. However, the same information is shared with our upperclassmen halls, which is Hughini Suites. However, that is a little more difficult to monitor and control, but students are aware of the restrictions as it relates to overnight guests as well as bunking.
Were community members allowed to enter the campus after the game without purchasing a game ticket? If so, I thought the purpose of the game zone was to limit the access to campus to paid persons only.
Repeat that question, Ms. Pointer.
Were community members allowed to enter the campus after the game without purchasing a game ticket? If so, I thought the purpose of the game zone was to limit the access to campus to paid persons only.
Yes, that is correct, and that is the purpose of the game zone. But remember, this was after the game. The shooting occurred after the game, where we had guests coming on campus for the concert who had paid to attend the concert, and of course, that concert was canceled.
All right. I, as a parent, am still waiting on a call back from campus police. This is not the first incident where a gun has been pulled. How are we addressing this going forward?
Please ensure that Ms. Pointer gets your specific information, and we will ensure that your call is returned. And you know, again, I apologize for that. I don't know the reason, but we will certainly look into it.
All right. What to do if my child has to get a replacement school ID? She was trampled and her purse was stolen.
Certainly a school ID, we can get that as early as tomorrow for her. We have our IT personnel on this call with us, Mr. Ham, he's watching from his office. And tomorrow we will actually post to our students how to do all of these things. We will post to our students, we will send out a note to our students, all of the items that were found. You know, many students approached me today on campus about, you know, lost items, whether it were keys, cell phones. So we are compiling all of those things at the lost and found, and then we will make a posting of all of those items and telling them where they can pick those things up from.
Is counseling offered online? Some students were affected personally and have left campus to be home with their families.
Yes, I can speak to that. Like Dr. Jeffries already let us know in the beginning, we do have a mobile crisis app. It's called Timely Care. It is free for all students at no cost. They have available counselors who are licensed in the state of South Carolina, as well as self-paced self-care activities. There is a 24/7 feature. It's called Talk Now within the app, and they can call as long as it's not an imminent emergency for someone to talk to for about 15 or 20 minutes.
All right, how will security be handled and held accountable going forward?
Mr. President, would you like me to take that?
No, I would just like to say after a thorough investigation, we will determine if there were any lapse by security and certainly hold anyone accountable. But at this point, we simply do not have all of those details. But as always, you know, we attempt to hold all of our employees accountable for their actions or their lack of action. So again, we're going through a thorough investigation, and then we will make the appropriate determinations.
Dr. Smalls, did you want to add anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What can parents sign up for to get information from the university when emergencies occur? Parents can stay in the loop.
I think the fastest and the quickest is the Rave app. I mean, that goes out immediately as soon as there's a lockdown. Everything else, you know, emails and things as such takes a little bit more time for us to gather information. We don't want to send out inaccurate information, but at least the Rave app will let them know that it's a lockdown. And that's really good, just in case the student aren't checking their text messages, at least the parents can then call the student and ask, did you see that Rave alert? So again, I fully encourage each of you to sign up for the Rave app.
How often are you conducting active shooter drills? I was surprised by the amount of students outside during the lockdown while SLED was still investigating. Is there any enforcement to sheltering indoors?
there is, and again, with such a large crowd as we had on homecoming, many of those that you saw outside, appear to be student age, but not necessarily students at South Carolina State University. So we were trying to push them off the campus, get them off of the campus. While I do recognize, I'm not that naive to think that some of our students simply did not listen to instructions and just stayed outside. But again, a large portion of those students, because I remained on campus all night, saw them leaving the campus, which told me they were not South Carolina State students, as I saw the droves of students, student age, young adults leaving campus.
Is there any way we can hire local police and professional event staff for events?
We do currently. The security team is augmented by local police, also county, as I talked about before, and city police are a part of that team. Also, SLED is brought in.
Hey, Gerald, Dr. Smalls, let them know, Dr. Smalls, SLED is our South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. We got parents from many different states. So SLED is the highest level of public safety in South Carolina. We know in each state there's a different name, but in South Carolina is SLED, as
Yes,
well
sir,
as the South Carolina Highway Patrol.
Yes, sir. That is the FBI of South Carolina, SLED. Thank you.
Is it possible for the counseling department to reach out to students directly in addition to the drop-in approach?
Yes, actually, our quickest and easiest way for students to be in touch with us is to follow our Instagram page. And this is also for parents. It's not an official or formal way, but sometimes we do get direct messages and I monitor those. And we do actually have a list of students who have been engaged in services with us. And so we do have a plan to reach out to them directly, just given our history and the treatment that they received from us so far. That is also part of the plan. We don't know everyone because not everyone's engaged in services, but we're really good about getting the word out through Instagram. Again, if you would like to follow as parents and students and alumni, that is at SCSU Counseling Center. And that is also where you can get the link for Timely Care. If you go to the link in our bio, that's the easiest way to get in touch with the actual app and using your SCSU email for all students so that they can register and be sure to get those services at no cost. The easiest way, again, just to answer the original question for us to reach out to students directly is to come to the office, but we will be making that contact with students we already know.
In addition to that, thank you, Dr. Jackson. With the permission of the president, we will also be sending out. So we started SLATE in 2023. So we have the vast majority of the students between 23 and 25 in SLATE. So we will be sending out any additional information on counseling services and any additional notification that the president would like for students to receive will be going out through SLATE immediately. The second thing is that tomorrow we have a group of donors on campus that have given us money to onboard an app called Front Porch. Front Porch will be a notification app for every student on the campus to receive information about financial aid, class schedules, any notification, what's going on in the cafeteria, and student activities on campus that will be onboarded starting tomorrow. Thank you, President Conyers.
Thank you, Dr. Finch.
All right, with student housing that does not have front office check-in, what can be put in place for visitors during events such as homecoming to cut down on weapons being brought on campus?
Again, we remind our students that they could be held responsible for guests with weapons. In fact, unfortunately, we've already had to send students home this year because of that. But we conduct random check-ins. Our gate guards are looking for weapons. We have a dog trained to find weapons. So, again, we're working very, very hard to keep weapons off our campus. Unfortunately, and this is really unfortunate, but it's true. South Carolina is one of 46 states that have open carry, where students, well, 18-year-olds can carry weapons. A lot of times, students believe that they can bring those weapons onto guests believe they can bring those weapons onto campus, but our students know that they can't. I tell all of our students that, but many times our guests believe, because we're in an open state, that they can bring those weapons onto campus. So again, we continue to educate our students. We continue to educate the public, working very, very hard to eradicate and mitigate weapons on our campus.
All right, in general, what measures do we take to make sure guns are not on the campus in general?
In general, we put out to our students that having a weapon on campus is illegal. We put out to our students that, being found with the weapon on campus will result in an arrest and expulsion. We inform our students that knowingly having guests on our campus is illegal. We have at all of our gates that weapons are not allowed. We had additional sandwich boards out all this weekend reminding folks that weapons were illegal on campus. So we continue to educate the public, but again, we just continue to work as hard as we can. And when we find those who know the rules and simply choose to ignore them, they're dealt with swiftly.
If I can add to what you said, Mr. President, there is no tolerance for having weapons at South Carolina State University. Chris, which is our gun canine dog, is in operation. He will be walking through the entire campus to make us safe. He will be used at all major locations to ensure that weapons are not on this campus. We will do whatever is necessary to make sure that our students, faculty, and staff are safe.
Why was the only internal directive for communication for SLED? Why was there not a designated official spokesperson and number provided for parents in the community more timely? Or has it even been done as of now?
What was that question again?
Why was the only internal directive for communication for SLED? Why was there not a designated official spokesperson and number provided for parents in the community more timely? Or has it even been done as of now?
SLED has the responsibility for any investigation that involves a shooting on a public university campus or a school. So therefore, that's always the case when it comes to the investigation, the point of contact is SLED. When it comes to parent information, again, that is through the RAVE app, providing information to parents and updates, when the lockdown initiated, when the lockdown is lifted, and things that deals with the lockdown. As it pertains to the university, parents, we had parents, most parents were calling into the campus police department, which of course was inundated with calls. And so I'm sorry if we weren't able to answer all of the questions, at the time. But again, we will take a look at that. Again, SLED for investigation. We will certainly take a look at all internal operations to see where we can make improvements.
All right, we'll just take just a few more and then we're wrapping here. What will it take to ask local law enforcement at entry gates to check trunks or inside of vehicles for guns and weapons?
Again, there's no public university anywhere in the country that's checking every trunk of every car that comes on. We do random checks, especially those visitors without decals. When we get a threat assessment, then we put more things in place. But again, we will certainly look, and we do have, especially for huge events. Again, we have highway patrol, all of the different argumentation we do have on campus doing large events. But I don't know if we're at the point yet where I can tell you that we will be able to implement trunk checks for every vehicle. But we will continue to provide random checks on campus. We will continue to do health and wellness checks for weapons in the dorms. We will continue to do random checks with our gun sniffing dog, on and around campus. But again, that particular question would not at that point where I can tell you when we would begin something like that. There will be, that's good, Ms. Angel.
Okay. Going forward, will the actual students be responsible for their bad company, and will they get more than just one day off after witnessing?
Yes, students have always been accountable if we can prove certain things for their company. And again, we've punished students so far this year for having guests that's not abiding by our rules. And you're asking about whether there be more than one day off. You mean for the
students? For the students,
yes. Our SGA president is very, very engaged. She initially asked for 3 days. We told her that we will start with tomorrow. We will have the town hall for students, and we will continuously assess what those needs are. So again, we're starting with tomorrow. We will see how our students are doing. And if we need to provide another day for counseling or mental health guidance, we will certainly do that. But we will certainly, as we gather all of our students back on campus tomorrow, assess the situation.
All right. Thank you for all your leadership and guidance with navigating us through this tragic situation. But is there a way to have security, SLED, or public safety to actually walk patrol campus during large events such as homecoming to have more presence?
Yes, and we did. Over 200 officers were on campus yesterday. We had a command center set up directly in front of the stadium. We had drones. We had several different entities, some I'm not allowed to speak of. And unfortunately, we had 2 individuals on our campus that totally disregarded the safety of those around them. Knowing that we have cameras in the area, knowing that we had security personnel in the immediate vicinity, still chose to pull a weapon and pull the trigger on our campus. And I'm committed for those type people to ensure that they receive the fullest punishment by law, to send a message to any other person who may be thinking about coming onto our campus. We will continue to educate the public that although South Carolina is an open carry state, just like 45 other states, having a weapon on this campus is illegal. And we will continue to educate the public, and we will continue to hold those accountable for breaking those laws. Again, as tragic as last night was, it was inspiring today to walk about campus and speak to our students and ask them how they're doing and how they're feeling and getting real answers from them. I learned so much from our students, and it's unfortunate that many of them have grown up in an era where this is almost expected. Our students should not have to live like this, whether it's at South Carolina State or any other university or any church or any school or any place. And I'm committed to using every law available to us to make our campus as safe as possible. And I want to again thank you, parents, for entrusting your student with us. Thank you for entrusting Dr. Finch on those recruiting trips. Thank you for entrusting Dr. Jeffries as she leads student affairs. Thank you for entrusting Dr. Smalls as he leads his divisions. And again, I fully understand as a parent of a recent graduate of South Carolina State who came to South Carolina State before I was ever appointed as the president, as the parent of a daughter who attended college and just graduated in California. I can't imagine what you parents who are out of state are going through. So I certainly understand and I empathize with you. But I want you to know that you can trust me that we're going to enforce every law available to ensure that our faculty, staff, but more importantly, our students are protected.
Will the town hall tomorrow be live streamed for parents to attend, or will it be for students in person only?
We would like to keep this for students in person only for tomorrow. They will certainly be able to share with their parents the information out of that. And again, as we go through this, if the need arises for another town hall, I'm open to that. Another town hall for students, another town hall for parents, we're open to that. We will also do a town hall for faculty and staff on tomorrow as well. We know that this affects everybody connected to our campus.
And last question here, before the last question, there's a lot of thanks and praise to the leadership, to your leadership and your team. But last question is, when will the lockdown be lifted?
We expect the lockdown to be lifted sometime tonight. We know that SLED has finally concluded their search of the area, looking for any evidence that could assist them. So we expect the lockdown to be lifted sometime tonight or no later than in the morning.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank everyone for your time here, and you all have a good evening.
Thank you all so very much. And again, my prayers are with you and your students and this entire community. And thank you again for your concern, and good night.
Good night.